Here are the top 5 biggest wide receiver values in the first 5 rounds of fantasy football. Starting with round 1, if you've been following me for a while, you know Cooper Kupp is that guy this year. He's my 101. He projects easily to be the highest scoring player in all of fantasy, but he's going around like pick 7 to 9, depending on how scared your league mates are. Obviously, the main issue with him is his hamstring. He just injured it this offseason, but it looks to be a minor one. And I've had plenty of hamstring injuries in my life, and they don't linger as long as you take the proper rest and precaution, which he's doing. He's not going to play in the preseason. The Rams never play their starters anyways, so really it doesn't matter. And we saw it in training camp before he did hurt that hamstring. His ankle looks just fine. Him and Stafford are dominant. They're on the same page. Everything's good there. In terms of fantasy production, 26 points per game in his record-breaking year. Last year, 25 points per game before he got hurt against Arizona. I believe it was week 9. So in his first 8 games, he was easily by far the wide receiver 1, averaging over 3 more points than the next closest wide receiver, which was Justin Jefferson. So to me, I'm taking the risk. This really feels like CMC versus Jonathan Taylor from last year. I'm going Kupp over Jefferson all day, but especially when you can get the guy at pick 7 to 9, he's easily the best value in football. One other point that people like to bring up is this situation, which really doesn't make much sense because last year Stafford came into the league with a bum elbow and his left tackle, Noteboom, tore his Achilles. I believe it was week 2 or 3. So he basically had no O-line and no quarterback, and he still was the best fantasy wide receiver. So this year, he gets healthy Stafford, healthy himself, and healthy left tackle. So I don't understand how anything changed. If anything, it got better. He already proved he doesn't need a good situation to be the best player. It's like CMC from a couple years ago, you know? He just gets by far the most amount of volume. The next wide receiver I'll talk about goes in round 2, and it's Davante Adams. He goes around pick 14 or 15 usually. I like to pick him in the first round towards the back end of that. I think with Jarrett Stidham last year, he had a 150-yard game with 2 touchdowns against the best defense in football, the San Fran 49ers. I don't care that Jimmy G is his quarterback now. Jimmy G may not push the ball down the field as much as Derek Carr would, but it really doesn't matter. Derek Carr was not good last year. He threw the ball 180 times to Davante Adams. Davante could only catch 100 of them. That's how inaccurate he was. Derek Carr had 14 picks, 24 touchdowns, 3,400 yards. That's something that I can easily see Jimmy G doing. And with Jimmy G showing that he can produce for Kittle, a couple years ago, then Deebo Samuel just a year ago, I don't think there's really much of a downgrade here at all. If not, it's going to be a little more consistency from Adams. It's just one of those guys that when you step in at quarterback, you know you're going to throw the ball to him 12 plus times a game. Let's not fade this amazing volume. Now, Garrett Wilson is up next, and he is pick 19 on Sleeper versus pick 12-ish on Underdog Fantasy. He's my personal pick 10. So on Sleeper, if I can get him almost in the 3rd round, I mean, good Lord, that's amazing. So he's with Aaron Rodgers now, obviously the biggest upgrade you can ever ask for from a quarterback from Zach Wilson to Aaron Rodgers. He also gets the Nathaniel Hackett treatment in the red zone. So Aaron and Nathaniel love to use that Davante Adams type of role in the red zone, get their best route runner open in space and the ball near the goal line. So I could see a realistic season of like 1,400 to 1,600 yards and 10 to 12 plus touchdowns fairly easily. He's a great route runner. He was the offensive rookie of the year. He already proved what he can do. And Rodgers is only speaking glowingly of him right now. Rodgers still says Adams is the best in the league, but then he says Garrett Wilson is very, very close and on his way to being there as well. This also really isn't a crowded offense. It's basically exactly how it was in Green Bay, a good running back duo, an okay offensive line. It was probably a little better in Green Bay, but the receiving core is exactly like how it was in Green Bay. So Wilson's going to thrive. Now, my 4th wide receiver is Calvin Ridley, and he's like my absolute favorite going in the 40s on Sleeper. On Underdog, where it's sharper, where you actually have to pay to draft, it's a lot higher. He's in the 30s, if not going on the 2-3 turn, and that's where I take him. I personally just took him in a creator league over Jalen Waddle because I do believe Calvin Ridley has that true wide receiver 3-ish upside. I don't think he can be top 1 because, the Cooper Kupp and Jefferson are just too good, but I really think he could easily be top 5. Him and Lawrence will already have that great connection. We've seen him in training camp. His route running's on point, his movement, his speed. He just looks great out there. And I went back the other day just watching some of the highlights with the Matt Ryan days. And I'm sorry, but Matt Ryan was not the deep ball passer that Trevor Lawrence is. And he looked amazing with Matt Ryan. He already had a 1,300-yard season with 9 touchdowns when Julio Jones was there. I would love to see what he can do in this Doug Peterson offense. Calvin Ridley is my wide receiver 11, and I am projecting him to be this year's league winner. And the final guy I'm going to talk about is Keenan Allen. I love this Chargers offense with Kellen Moore at offensive coordinator. I expect this team to throw the ball well over 700 times, a thing that really only the Chargers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers can do. Keenan Allen obviously was hurt last year, but when he came back, he averaged over 19 points per game in full PPR, and that was in over an 8 to 9 game span. The dude is electric when he's on the field, and I don't think Quentin Johnston joining the team really hurts him at all. If anything, it takes more pressure off the top of the defense. They've always needed that speed element on this offense from the wide receiver core, So I think they all complement each other very well. And like I said, over 700 pass attempts, everyone is going to eat in this offense. I'm taking everyone. And if you want to win over $3 million playing fantasy football, you need to sign up on Underdog Fantasy right behind me. It's the best app in the game. When you sign up with code DNR, you'll get a $100 deposit match. So if you put in 100, you get 200. If you put in 10, you get 20, and you'll get my free draft guide as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and let me know what you want to see next. I'll catch y'all later. Peace.